Hey, Lark and Rose here. Happy July 4th. Sort of. To me, Independence Day is always sort of this hollow, depressing joke because you have people across the country waving flags that represent a republic that's oppressing them while celebrating freedom, unaware of the fact that we are infinitely less free than we were before the colonists here declared independence from the British Crown, and things have been going downhill for a long time. But people are basically so nationalistic now that the freedom is sort of secondary. Well, yeah, we don't exactly have freedom to do much of anything, but it counts as freedom because it's our country, rah, 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 patriotism, blah, blah, blah. So it's always sort of a weird, depressing spectacle to watch people celebrating what they think is freedom, or what they're calling freedom, and is nothing of the sort. It's just blind loyalty to their ruling class and to the republic for which it stands. But I'm going to start on a random tangent. There are a lot of animals that I don't like to see caged and in captivity, and you can see they're not okay with being caged. Like if you go to a zoo and they're like big cats will pace back and forth and they're stressed out because they know I'm not supposed to be in here, I'm supposed to be free. There are other animals who seem perfectly fine with it that I don't at all mind people having as pets. For example, when I was a kid, we had guinea pigs. And guinea pigs are remarkably stupid. Stupid little rodents that seem perfectly content with a decent-sized aquarium, and there's free water on the wall, and there's free food in a dish, and we take care of them, and, we keep their habitat safe and clean, and they're perfectly okay with that. They don't do the thing of, like, scratching to try to get out. They're just, yep, we're okay. That works for us. They're just little domesticated pets waiting to happen. And there are a number of other things like that that show no sign of caring as long as they're taken care of and they have their basic needs. They don't particularly care that they can't go anywhere else. And again, it matters what size the cage is. Like if you put something in a cage that big, it's probably going to be frustrated and try to get out. But if you give them a big enough room to roam around a little bit, there's a bunch of, rodents and reptiles and spiders and all sorts of pets that don't seem to care. They're perfectly fine with that. They don't want anything else. In fact, there are a lot of things that if they're raised that way and then you let them out, they don't know what to do. They sort of hide, like, oh, this is unfamiliar. Let me back in my cage. And there are a bunch of things that if you open the door on the cage, and this was true of guinea pigs that we had when my daughter was growing up, they didn't particularly want to come out. And we'd have to like coax them out, and then they'd play around and we'd take care of them, and then they'd run back into their cage on their own. And so that is an obvious parallel to when people ask me, well, what about the people who don't seem to actually want freedom? They're okay with a comfortable cage. They have their life, they have their job, they have their TV, they go run on their little treadmill and earn the money to sit in front of a TV, and they seem to be okay with that. What about them? And that is an important thing to note, that a lot of people don't actually want freedom. And a lot of people, today of all days on July 4th, demonstrate that they don't know what the hell freedom is, because they think they have it. And if your goal is to do what's expected and do the predictable routine of I go to work for 8 hours a day, I come home, I buy food, I watch TV, I play video games, I do whatever inside the little, set collection of things that are expected of me, and that counts as freedom, you're just a stupid caged animal who doesn't know any better, who doesn't know that you should be allowed to do more than that. And you should be allowed to keep what you earn when you go to that job, and you should be allowed to do more than watch TV. But if a human being is content with that, they can imagine that they're free. And I've talked to a whole bunch of statists who say, what do you mean we're not free? I can go to the store and buy stuff. I can go on vacation over here. Because they're so limited in what they think life is supposed to be, and their master owners let them do that stuff that they think, well, I'm free because it doesn't occur to me to do anything outside this tiny little box. And it's just like the pet guinea pig or something, and well, you have the water thing on the wall and the food in the dish, and well, what else could I want? Other people clean up my poop. I'm good. That's fine. I'm free. Hooray. But some people will ask me, well, if people have that attitude, who are you to mess that up for them? Why don't you just let them be that way? Like, is there anything actually wrong with it if the people are okay with that and they want it? And there's, on the one hand, you could say, no, if you choose it, if you choose to be a slave and choose to be this pathetic thing in a cage, okay, your life belongs to you. You're allowed to choose that. But there are a few reasons why I would still try to talk those people out of it. The first is because if you're not freely choosing, if you're not choosing between all the options that you're actually aware of, you know there are other options. If you're just doing what is expected of you because that's all you can imagine, it's all you've ever known, it's all you can think of, then that isn't really choosing. And so if somebody can understand freedom and what the world should be, like in a stateless society, and still says, no, I'd rather have somebody control me and put me in a cage and govern my life for me, I'd say, all right, well, if you know all the options and you still choose slavery, I won't stop you by force. I might try to talk you out of it because I think it's pretty damn pathetic. And that's reason number two. It's just pathetic for a human being to do that. The first one is most people don't know what freedom is, so they're not free to choose between what we have and actual freedom because they've never seen freedom. And so they believe the BS of flag-waving bozos pretending that this is a free country. This is the freest country in the blah, blah, blah. First of all, a free country is a oxymoron. It's a contradiction because a country is the territorial jurisdiction of a ruling class. If you have a ruling class, you're already not free. So there's never been a free country. There can't be a free country. The idea makes no sense. But for those who would choose the comfortable cage because they don't know any better, I want them to know any better. And then if they still choose the cage, that's pathetic and sad. And then the second reason is it's just pathetic for a human being to choose slavery. And there are some who, even in a free society, would do that. I don't want the responsibilities and the risks of doing anything. I just want somebody else to tell me what to do, and I'll do it. In fact, you can see that a lot in the employee mentality, as I refer to it. The people who just want a job. I do a job, you tell me what to do, I do it, you pay me, I go home. I don't have to figure out anything. I don't have to be creative. There's no risk on me. There's none of the entrepreneurial stuff of having to make something actually work. You just tell me the thing to do and I'll do it and you pay me and I go home. No responsibilities. And when a zillion years ago when we had a medical transcription business, we totally saw that. Most of the typists, they didn't want anything other than you tell me what to do, you set it up, you tell me exactly what to do, I do it, you pay me, that's all. Because we actually tried to give away our business at one point and nobody wanted it because it's too much involved. Like, I don't know how to manage all that and make those decisions and take those risks and try to figure out how to get new clients. No, I just want to do this little thing. So there are a lot of people that really do just want a predictable, controlled thing handed to them by somebody else. Now, in an actually free society, if people weren't, subjected to the Prussian indoctrination system for years and trained not to think for themselves, there might be a whole lot less of that. But if somebody knows all their options and chooses that, that's pathetic, but I would let them. But the final reason that I'm not okay with people choosing to be stupid domesticated animals in a cage is because they're not just victimizing themselves. They are serving as fuel, specifically financial fuel, for giant war machines and oppression machines and extortion rackets. If somebody was just being caged and enslaved and robbed and they were okay with it, and the person robbing them was using the money to go off and buy Twinkies and sit around playing video games, I'd say, well, that's pathetic that you'd volunteer for that, but oh well, it's not hurting me. Like, you're serving that bozo and harming yourself, but if you want to choose a situation that's that bad for you, okay, you're allowed to, I guess. But that's not what's happening. They are choosing a cage in which a large portion of the fruits of their labor and time and effort and energy are being used to build the war machine and build the oppression machine and all the stupid federal and state agencies that are violently dominating and harming people. They are choosing slavery for themselves, and they are choosing to fuel evil at the same time. And however oblivious you are to freedom yourself, and however much you don't even care about your own freedom, you being a battery basically providing energy to an evil authoritarian empire, that's not okay. And it's not okay to just say, well, I just do as I'm told and I mind my own business, when you know damn well what your taxes are funding. You know damn well you are paying for the bombs that are blowing up little children on the other side of the world. It's fine for you to choose slavery for yourself. Well, it's not fine, it's pathetic. But you have the right to because you own your own life. But when you are helping, when you are knowingly funding and empowering violent domination and murder of other people, that's not okay anymore. So when people stick their head in the sand on July 4th, oh, we're free, yada, 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 yeah, the troops, rah, 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 let's all worship the mercenaries of the state, it's not okay to let them be that stupid and oblivious. It's not okay to just let them enslave themselves because they're empowering evil that is affecting other people. It's also affecting other people here. Like the violence that is inflicted on me and you and anybody else who disobeys the state here, it's funded entirely by taxpayers. Government doesn't make anything of wealth. What they have is stolen from other people. It's stolen from all the happy slaves who are out there waving flags today, talking about how free they are when they're not. That is where the power of evil empires always, always, always comes from. It's the law-abiding taxpayers. And so the people out there aren't just choosing slavery for themselves. They're not just saying, we're okay being animals in a cage as long as you give us, or as long as we're a little bit entertained and we're fed and we're good. We'll just go along the treadmill and do as we're told. They are fueling mass evil around the world, and that's not okay. And that's one of the reasons I won't just let people be, oh, why don't you just let them believe this stuff and go along and be in their little cage and do their little predictable thing? Why would you make them uncomfortable and make them doubt things and think about things when they're content as a guinea pig in a little wire cage? Because them as a guinea pig in a little wire cage is what enables and empowers some of the biggest, most evil things going on in the world, courtesy of the U.S. government. And that's not okay. You can enslave yourself, but don't pay for other people to be murdered on the other side of the world. Don't pay for people here to be caged for having the wrong plant or being caged for not going along with their own extortion to fund the war machine and all that stuff. So, no, I don't believe people should be allowed to be, happily ignorant, blissfully ignorant of what's going on and just let them think that this is freedom and that this is okay, because it isn't. And it's actually, if it was just them and they want to be that oblivious, if they want the blue pill and they want to be clueless about what's going on and just have this predictable, controlled life, that's one thing. But, to keep going with the Matrix analogy, when they are acting as a battery for an evil empire, that's not okay. And that's why I'm not okay with allowing people to be comfortably clueless and wave flags without me ruining the day by pointing out they are cheering for evil. They are cheering for a level of freedom that was far less than existed under King George III. They're talking about independence and they have no freaking idea of what actually happened back then, what it meant, the betrayal of the Declaration of Independence that existed in the form of the Constitution, how it immediately became authoritarian, immediately became worse than having a king. They're oblivious to all that, and I pointed out, knowing that I'm going to ruin their fun picnic day if they hear this message, and it'll make them all uncomfortable and mad, because the lies they are told and the brainwashing and the indoctrination and the mind control that is making them think this is okay, that is what fuels global evil. That's not okay, which is why I'm not going to shut up. And it's why every July 4th I'm going to keep posting articles and making videos pointing out the stupidity and patheticness of the American people waving flags and talking about our country and our republic and we're free and independent. You're none of those. You are human livestock, owned and controlled by a malicious ruling class that is not only enslaving you, but is using the fruits of your labor to enslave and murder people here and all over the globe, and that's not freaking okay. And if it messes up your friggin' picnic today for me to point that out, tough shit. It's the truth, and Americans have to learn the truth and figure out there's nothing to celebrate about the American flag? Nothing. It is a giant, ridiculous, authoritarian joke. If you actually believe in freedom, you'd be burning the damn flag. You'd be disobeying your ruling class. You'd be doing what the colonists did to King George, which is say, screw you, you're not the boss of us anymore. But most Americans can't comprehend that because they're a guinea pig in a cage, and all they can see is, well, I have my needs met, I have my needs met, don't tell me about anything else. They need to be told about everything else because they are fuel for evil, and that has to stop.